The massive view screen in Earth's Defense Command showed thousands of stars, each one representing a world under the Galactic Empire's control. Admiral James Walker stood before it, his gray uniform perfectly pressed despite the 18 straight hours he had been on duty. His weathered face reflected the blue glow of the screen as he prepared to send humanity's final warning. "Recording ready, sir," said Lieutenant Mark from his communication station. The young officer's hands trembled slightly as he adjusted the controls. Walker took a deep breath. After 200 years of resistance against the Empire's attempts to colonize Earth, everything had led to this moment. He straightened his back and looked directly into the camera. "To Emperor Vale of the Million Worlds, this is Admiral James Walker of Earth's Defense Fleet. For 2 centuries, your empire has attempted to subjugate humanity. You have attacked our colonies, blockaded our trade routes, and killed millions of our people. Each time, you expected us to break. Each time, we survived and grew stronger." The Admiral's voice remained steady, but those who knew him could hear the contained anger beneath his professional tone. Behind him, the command center staff worked in complete silence, the only sounds coming from the gentle hum of equipment. "Today, that ends. Our scientists have developed what we call Project Prometheus. This technology gives us the ability to trigger solar flares in any star system we target. We can precisely control the magnitude and direction of these flares. In simple terms, Emperor Vale, we can burn your worlds one by one, without affecting neighboring systems." Walker paused, letting the implications sink in. On the screen behind him, a simulation showed a star erupting in a massive flare, its deadly energy precisely directed at a single planet. "You have doubted humanity's capabilities before. That would be unwise now. We are transmitting proof of our technology with this message. Detailed scans of the targeting systems we have already placed throughout your empire. Your scientists will confirm their authenticity." The command center's main door opened, and Dr. Anna Miller, lead scientist of Project Prometheus, entered quietly. She nodded to Walker, confirming that the final systems were in place. The Admiral continued his message. "These are our terms. Within 24 standard hours, you will withdraw all Imperial forces from human space. You will formally recognize Earth's independence and our right to self-governance. You will end all economic sanctions against human worlds and release all human prisoners in your custody." Walker's eyes hardened as he delivered the final part of the message. "If you refuse or attempt any military action against us, we will demonstrate Project Prometheus on an uninhabited system within your territory. After that, we will target military installations across your empire. Let me be clear, we don't want to use this weapon, but we will if forced." He stepped closer to the camera. "Your empire has always seen humanity as primitive, violent, and unworthy of respect. You fail to understand that by constantly threatening our survival, you pushed us to evolve, adapt, and overcome. We have become exactly what you feared, a species capable of challenging your power. The choice is yours, Emperor. Peace on our terms, or watch your empire burn one star at a time. You have 24 hours. Walker out." Lieutenant Mark ended the transmission. The command center remained silent for several long moments. "Message sent to all Imperial communication hubs," Mark finally reported. "They can't pretend they didn't receive it." Walker turned to Dr. Miller. "Status of the targeting systems." "All stations report ready," she replied. "We can trigger a flare in any Imperial system within seconds of your command." Walker nodded and looked back at the star map. Somewhere out there, Emperor Vale would be watching humanity's message, probably surrounded by his advisors and generals. For the first time in history, the Empire would have to take humanity seriously. "Now we wait," Walker said quietly. "Sound general quarters throughout the fleet. If I know the Empire, they'll either do something very smart or very stupid in the next few hours." The red alert klaxons began to sound throughout Earth's orbital stations and defense platforms. Humanity had thrown down the gauntlet. The next 24 hours would determine if centuries of oppression would end in peace or a demonstration of power that would reshape the galaxy forever. Emperor Vale watched the human transmission for the third time in his private chambers aboard the Imperial Palace Station. His long fingers tapped rhythmically on the golden armrest of his throne as Admiral Walker's face disappeared from the screen once again. "They dare threaten us," he said to the empty room. The Emperor's voice was calm, but his fingers had left dents in the solid gold of his armrest. The door chimed, and General Rex entered, his black uniform decorated with medals from 100 victories. He bowed deeply. "My Emperor, I've reviewed their transmission with our best scientists." And Vale's voice remained eerily quiet. "The technical data they sent, it's real." Rex's face showed his discomfort. "They've somehow developed a way to create controlled solar flares. Our scientists say it's possible, using technology we ourselves researched centuries ago, but abandoned as too unstable." The Emperor stood and walked to the window. Below, the capital world of the Empire stretched out, a city planet of golden towers and endless lights. "How many times have we tried to conquer Earth, Rex?" 17 major attempts over 200 years, my Emperor. And each time, they survived. Not through strength, but through tricks. Vale turned back to face his general. "The first time, they used simple nuclear weapons to destroy our invasion fleet. The second time, they had developed energy shields we thought impossible for their technology level. The third time," he waved his hand dismissively, "always some new surprise." Rex nodded. "They are resourceful, but they are still primitive. This must be another trick." "Is it?" Vale interrupted. He pressed a button, and a hologram appeared showing the technical data from Earth. "Look at these readings. They've placed devices throughout our territory, hidden them so well our best detection systems missed them. While we watched them, thinking them contained, they were spreading through our empire like a virus." The general studied the data with growing concern. The human devices were everywhere, attached to the magnetic poles of thousands of stars. Each one was capable of creating a solar flare that could be precisely aimed. "My Emperor," Rex said carefully, "we still have overwhelming force. Our fleet outnumbers theirs 1,000 to 1. We could launch an attack now, before their deadline, and risk them triggering these devices." Vale laughed without humor. "No, we need a better plan." He walked back to his throne and sat down. "How many ships can you gather in the next 12 hours? Rex straightened. "I can have 50,000 warships ready, my Emperor, the largest fleet ever assembled." "Good. Position them just outside the human detection range. If their threat is real, we'll see it demonstrated soon enough. If it's a bluff," Vale's eyes narrowed, "we'll make them pay for their insolence. And their deadline. Let it expire." The Emperor's face hardened. "I want to see if they have the courage to demonstrate this weapon. 200 years of humiliation end now. Either they destroy themselves trying to use this technology, or we finally crush them." Rex bowed and left to prepare the fleet. Vale turned back to the window, his reflection grim in the transparent steel. On his desk, messages from various Empire worlds flashed urgently, some calling for immediate action, others for caution. He ignored them all. "Show us your weapon, humans," he whispered to the stars. "Show us if you've finally created something worthy of our attention. Or perhaps," he smiled coldly, "perhaps this time your luck has run out." In the depths of space, the Empire's ships began to gather. The next few hours would prove either humanity's greatest bluff or the Empire's greatest mistake. As Vale watched his fleet assemble, he felt a strange mix of anticipation and dread. Something told him that this time, the humans weren't bluffing at all. The 24-hour deadline passed in complete silence from the Empire. Admiral Walker stood in Earth's Defense Command, watching the final minutes tick away on the giant display. No response from any Imperial channels, Lieutenant Mark reported. His voice was steady now, unlike yesterday. "But we're detecting massive fleet movements at the edge of our sensor range." Dr. Miller stepped forward, her tablet showing a detailed star map. The Proxima Centauri beta system is ready for demonstration, Admiral. It's an uninhabited system within Empire space, containing only automated mining operations. Walker nodded slowly. They need to understand we're not bluffing. Send the final warning. The message was brief. To all Imperial forces and civilian ships in the Proxima Centauri beta system, evacuate immediately. Demonstration of Project Prometheus will begin in 30 minutes. On the other side of Empire space, Emperor Vale watched the warning appear on his screen. He sat in his command center, surrounded by advisors and military officers. General Rex stood beside him, monitoring the fleet's positions. "They're actually going to do it," one of the science advisors whispered. "The energy readings from their devices are increasing." Vale leaned forward. "Show me the target system." A hologram appeared, showing Proxima Centauri Beta's star and its surrounding mining stations. Already, Imperial ships were rushing to evacuate, not willing to risk the humans' threat being real. Back on Earth, Dr. Miller's team began the activation sequence. "Targeting system locked," she announced. "Power levels optimal. Waiting for your command, Admiral." Walker took a deep breath. This moment would change everything. "Begin the demonstration." Dr. Miller pressed her hand against the activation panel. "Initiating Project Prometheus. Solar flare will begin in 3, 2, 1. Across thousands of light years, in the Empire's command center, the scientists watched their instruments in disbelief. Energy spike detected in Proxima Centauri Beta's corona. It's massive. The star's surface erupted. A controlled solar flare, larger than anything naturally possible, burst from its surface. The stream of plasma and energy curved through space, following the exact path the humans had designed. "By the ancient stars," General Rex whispered as he watched. The flare swept through the system, precisely targeting and destroying every mining station and Imperial installation. The star itself remained stable, but its deadly energy had turned the entire system into a sea of superheated plasma. "Demonstration complete," Dr. Miller reported back on Earth. "All targets destroyed. Star stability maintained at 99.8%. Walker activated the communication channel again. "Emperor Vale, you have witnessed a fraction of Project Prometheus's capability. This demonstration used only 10% of the system's full power. We have similar devices installed throughout your empire." In his command center, Vale gripped his armrest so hard it cracked. The human admiral's voice continued. "You have 1 hour to begin the withdrawal of all Imperial forces from human space. If we detect any aggressive fleet movements, we will not target another empty system." The Emperor looked at his advisors. Each face showed the same fear. They had all seen the impossible. A star turned into a weapon with surgical precision. "My Emperor," General Rex said quietly, "the fleet awaits your orders." Vale stared at the ruins of Proxima Centauri Beta. 200 years of assuming human weakness had led to this moment. Now a single star system's destruction had brought his empire to its knees. Send the withdrawal orders," he finally said, his voice hollow. "Get our people out of human space." As Imperial ships began their retreat, Admiral Walker watched the tactical display update in real time. "Humanity has lived under their shadow for too long," he said to his crew. "Today, we step into the light." The demonstration had worked. Now the galaxy would never be the same. Tom Reed walked through the crowded halls of the Imperial Palace, his plain brown service uniform making him nearly invisible among the panicked officials. As a maintenance worker and secret human spy, he had watched the Empire's mighty government collapse into chaos over the past 6 hours. "The humans must be destroyed immediately," shouted Lord Blake from inside the main council chamber. Tom slowed his walk, pretending to check a power conduit while listening. "We cannot show weakness." "Weakness," another voice responded, Governor Wells of the Outer Systems. "Did you not see what they did to Proxima Centauri Beta? They can do that to any star in the Empire." Tom smiled slightly as he worked. The Empire's rulers were finally learning what it meant to feel fear. In his private chambers, Emperor Vale faced his own crisis. The holographic displays around him showed dozens of system governors, each demanding different actions. "My Emperor," said Governor Jones of the Rich Worlds, her image flickering. "3 more systems have declared independence in the last hour. They say if you don't surrender to Earth's demands, they'll sign protection treaties with humanity directly." Vale's face remained stone-like. "Traitors. They're scared," General Rex said from his position by the door. "The rich worlds have the most to lose if the humans start burning stars. The mining colonies are threatening to stop mineral shipments," another governor reported. "They say they won't fuel a war that could destroy their systems." Tom Reed moved to another section of the palace, carefully recording everything he heard. As he worked, he saw Imperial officials rushing through the halls, carrying data tablets and urgent messages. Some were already removing personal items from their offices. In the military command center, General Rex watched the tactical displays with growing concern. The withdrawal of forces from human space was creating a dangerous gap in the Empire's defenses. Already, 3 minor rebellions had broken out in distant systems. "We could still strike," Rex told the Emperor. "A massive attack before they can react. And if we fail," Vale interrupted, "if even one of their devices survives to trigger a solar flare. No. We need—" He paused, looking older than Tom had ever seen him. "We need options." The spy moved closer to the command center's entrance, still pretending to work on the power systems. Inside, he could see the Emperor and his advisors gathered around a strategic display. "What do the humans want?" one advisor asked. "Just independence, or more." "They want everything," Vale said quietly. "They want us to acknowledge them as equals, perhaps even superiors." Now, his fist clenched. 2 centuries of trying to crush them, and instead we taught them how to defeat us. Tom finished his work and walked away, his hidden transmitter sending everything back to Earth. In his ear, a tiny receiver brought Admiral Walker's voice. "Good work. Keep watching. The Empire has 6 more hours to begin their complete withdrawal." Throughout the palace, the debate raged on. Some called for immediate surrender, others for a fight to the death. The empire that had ruled for 10,000 years was splitting apart in less than a day. Vale watched his lifelong advisors argue and fight. On the main screen, another report showed 3 more systems declaring independence. The mighty empire was facing a choice: adapt to a new reality with humanity as an equal, or risk everything in one final battle. "The humans," Vale said softly, "have finally taught us the meaning of fear." He looked at the star map, where thousands of dots marked the locations of Project Prometheus devices. "Now we must decide if pride is worth burning for." Tom Reed sent his final transmission of the day. "They're breaking, Admiral. The Empire is breaking at its core." General Rex stood before Emperor Vale in the Imperial flagship's command center. "The strike fleet is ready, my Emperor. 50,000 ships, our best crews. If we hit Earth fast enough, we might destroy their control center for Project Prometheus before they can react." Vale stared at the tactical display. "You understand this is our last chance. If we fail, better to die fighting than live as their slaves," Rex said firmly. He turned to the fleet commanders on the screen. "All ships, execute Jump Plan Delta. Target, Earth." In Earth's Defense Command, Admiral Walker was reviewing status reports when the alerts began blaring. Lieutenant Mark's voice cut through the noise. "Multiple hyperspace signatures detected. Massive Imperial fleet incoming." Walker's face showed no surprise. "They chose pride over survival. Battle stations. Execute Defense Plan Omega." The Imperial fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect attack formation. General Rex allowed himself a small smile as he saw Earth ahead. Then his tactical officer shouted in alarm. "General, detecting thousands of their automated defense platforms. They're everywhere." Walker watched from his command center as humanity's true defense grid activated. Over the past 2 centuries, Earth had launched millions of automated weapon platforms, hiding them in plain sight as debris and old satellites. Now they all came to life at once. Target their command ships, Walker ordered. Show them what centuries of preparation looks like. The space around Earth erupted in light. The automated platforms opened fire with weapons that cut through Imperial shields like paper. Humanity had studied Empire technology for 200 years, learning every weakness. Shields failing on multiple ships. Rex's tactical officers screamed. Their weapons, they're using frequencies that bypass our defenses. Press the attack. Rex ordered. Launch all fighters. We only need to reach their surface installations. But humanity had planned for this too. Waves of small, automated drones swarmed the Imperial fighters. Each drone was simple, cheap, and built specifically to counter Empire combat tactics. What they lacked in power, they made up for in numbers. Thousands of Imperial fighters vanished in explosions. They're not even using their manships, Rex realized with horror. This is all automated. In Earth's orbit, humanity's actual defense fleet waited calmly behind the automated screen. Admiral Walker watched the Empire lose ship after ship to simple machines. Send the message, he ordered. General Rex's command screen lit up with Walker's transmission. This is your only warning. Retreat now, or we will demonstrate Project Prometheus on your fleet's staging area. You have 5 minutes. They're bluffing, Rex shouted. Keep pushing forward. We've lost half the fleet, but we can still. Energy spike detected. His science officer interrupted. Massive solar flare forming in the staging system. They've activated their device. Walker watched the tactical display as the Imperial fleet realized their situation. Behind them, their staging area, and their only escape route, was about to be engulfed in a controlled solar flare. Orders, General. An Imperial captain asked desperately. Rex looked at his tactical display. Half his fleet was destroyed. Earth's defenses were barely scratched. And now their retreat path was about to be cut off by a wall of solar plasma. All ships, he said quietly, stand down. Send the surrender signal. Emperor Vale watched from his flagship as the mighty Imperial fleet powered down their weapons. Humanity had outmaneuvered them completely. 200 years, Walker said to his crew as the surrender signals came in. 200 years of them, thinking they could break us. Instead, we learned. We adapted. We prepared. And today we won. The battle was over. The Empire's gambit had failed, and humanity stood undefeated. Admiral Walker stood before the strategic display in Earth's Defense Command, marking targets across the Empire's territory. Begin Phase 1. He ordered. Military targets only. No civilian populations. Dr. Miller nodded and began the sequence, targeting Imperial shipyards in the Arcturus sector first, firing solar flare in 3, 2, 1. Across the galaxy, the Empire's largest shipyard erupted in flames as its star released a perfectly controlled burst of plasma. The massive construction docks, which had built warships for centuries, melted away in seconds. In his palace, Emperor Vale watched helplessly as reports flooded in. His spy, Tom Reed, observed from his hidden position as the Emperor's composure finally broke. 7 shipyards destroyed in the first hour. An admiral reported, his hologram flickering with interference. No civilian casualties. They're being surgical about it. Vale slumped in his throne. How many military targets have they hit? 38 and counting, my emperor. They're taking apart our military infrastructure piece by piece, but they're avoiding population centers completely. Tom Reed sent his observations back to Earth. The emperor is breaking. The military command is in chaos. Some generals are already surrendering their fleets without orders. Walker reviewed the reports from across Empire space. Begin Phase 2, he commanded. Target their fuel processing stations. Without fuel, their remaining ships will be stranded. Dr. Miller's team worked efficiently, triggering solar flares with precise timing. Targeting fuel refineries in the Centauri sector, firing. The Empire's response was immediate. Governor Wells appeared on the emergency channel. Please, we surrender the Centauri sector. Don't trigger the device here. Similar messages poured in from across the galaxy. Imperial worlds, seeing the precise destruction of military targets, began surrendering one by one. They had expected humanity to be brutal, to burn civilian worlds. Instead, the surgical strikes against military targets showed a level of control that terrified them even more. My Emperor, General Rex reported from his damaged flagship, we've lost contact with 80% of our fleet. The humans, they're not just destroying our ships. They're trapping them in port with these solar storms. Vale watched another tactical display go dark as a solar flare cut off an entire sector of his empire. They could have burned everything, he said quietly. Instead, they're dismantling us piece by piece. In Earth's command center, Admiral Walker received another update from Tom Reed. Imperial Palace is evacuating. Military command structure is collapsing. Regional governors are declaring independence or requesting peace talks with Earth. The empire that tried to break us for 2 centuries, Walker said to his staff, is being broken in a single day. Not by brute force, but by precise, controlled power. Dr. Miller looked up from her station. All primary military targets neutralized, Admiral. Imperial fighting capability is now below 15%. Walker nodded. Send the final message. Throughout the Empire's remaining communication network, the human admiral's voice echoed. Your military infrastructure has been neutralized. Your fleets are trapped or destroyed. We have demonstrated both our power and our restraint. You have 1 hour to begin the full surrender process, or we move on to Phase 3. In the Imperial Palace, Vale watched his empire crumble. The mighty force that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years had been systematically dismantled in less than a day. Send the surrender signal, he ordered, his voice hollow. Before they decide to stop being merciful. Tom Reed sent his final message to Earth. It's done. The Empire has fallen. Walker looked at the strategic display, now showing hundreds of surrender signatures. Not fallen, he corrected quietly. Changed. And perhaps that's better for everyone. 1 month after the Empire's surrender, Admiral Walker stood in the grand hall of what was once the Imperial Palace. The massive room, with its towering golden pillars and crystal windows, now served as the meeting place for the new Galactic Council. The peace treaty is ready, Lieutenant Mark said, placing a data tablet on the ancient stone table. Around the table sat representatives from Earth, the former Empire, and the newly independent worlds. Emperor Vale, now simply Administrator Vale of the Core Worlds, entered the hall. He looked smaller without his imperial robes, wearing a simple gray administrative uniform instead. 200 years of conflict, Walker said, picking up the treaty tablet. Ends with a signature. Dr. Miller stood near one of the crystal windows, watching ships move through the capital world sky. Many now carried Earth's flag alongside their local symbols. Project Prometheus remains active, she reported. But we've modified the devices. They now serve as an early warning system for natural solar flares. We're already helping 3 worlds prepare for solar storms they didn't know were coming. Vale managed a small smile, turning a weapon into a shield. Very human of you. Tom Reed, no longer hiding his identity, worked with a team of Earth technicians to install new communication systems in the hall. The trading networks are almost fully restored, he reported, and 6 more independent worlds have requested Earth's protection under the new defense treaty. Walker walked to the main display screen, which showed a map of the galaxy. The former Empire's territory was now divided into independent regions, each self-governing but connected through new trade and defense agreements. We could have destroyed it all, Walker said to Vale. That's what you would have done, isn't it? If you had our weapon. Vale nodded slowly. We would have burned every human world to ash. That's why we lost. We never understood that true power isn't about destruction. It's about control, precision, and, he paused, mercy. The representatives took their seats as the signing ceremony began. Each former imperial world would now govern itself, with Earth serving as a protective power and mediator. The Project Prometheus devices would remain in place, not as weapons, but as guarantors of peace. The treaty has 3 main points, Walker announced to the gathered leaders. First, all worlds have the right to self-governance. Second, Earth will provide protection and technological assistance to any world that requests it. Third, Project Prometheus will be maintained as a deterrent against any future aggression, under the control of a joint council. Vale was the first to sign, formally ending 10,000 years of imperial rule. As each representative added their signature, the display map updated, showing the new political boundaries. What happens now? Vale asked quietly as the ceremony concluded. Walker looked out at the capital city, where ships from 100 worlds flew freely through the skies. Now we do what humanity does best. We adapt. We grow. We help others do the same. Dr. Miller approached with new data. We've already started sharing some of our defensive technology with the independent worlds. Nothing that could be used for conquest, but enough to protect themselves. And Project Prometheus? Vale asked. Stays exactly where it is, Walker replied firmly. As a reminder that peace is always a better choice than war. The sun was setting outside the crystal windows, casting long shadows through the hall. Humanity had risen from an oppressed civilization to become guardians of galactic peace, not through conquest, but through a perfect balance of power and restraint. 200 years ago, Walker said to the assembled leaders, "Your empire tried to break us. Instead, you forced us to become stronger than we ever imagined. Now we'll help you do the same." As the new Galactic Council began its first official meeting, the sun finally set on the age of the Empire. A new era had begun, not of conquest and subjugation, but of cooperation and growth. Humanity had not just survived. They had changed the galaxy forever.